Hockey Podcast.
Ready for action?
Ready for action. Nip into the bud. Outcast is everlasting. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect intro to episode 90 of the Handsome Hockey Podcast. We are recording early in the day today, so we might not be super tired.
Yeah, this is mostly to make room for my flute record recording later in the day.
Are you doing covers of Just the Flute from Aqualung?
No, it's going to be just the flute parts from Jethro Tull.
That's who does Aqualung.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know shit about shit. You know who else doesn't know shit about shit? The NHL.
Oh, that's a given, but, please enlighten us, Evan.
The NHL is now 0-2 versus players that want to embarrass it this year by doing cool things. First, you got Travis Dermott with some clandestine use of the Pride tape. And then you got Marc Andre Fleury wearing a gorgeous goaltender mask honoring Native people, including his wife, after the NHL told him not to. And he said, "Fuck you, buddy."
I loved the very blatant comments from the well, what do you think about this? And he's like, it's stupid.
Yeah, I know. We're not mincing words anymore when it comes to just addressing the idiocy of the PR of the NHL. Sometimes we are just kicking them while they're down now.
It's kind of it's like the NHL is trying to make us hate it. We love hockey, but we hate hockey culture. And then the NHL, which is the biggest arbiter of hockey culture in the world, just continuously is like, you know what? We hate most people. We just don't want to give them any credence in our game. And all the old white guys are like, yeah, get them. You tell those drag queens who's boss. It's like, why can't the NHL just try and have a moment where they don't, fuck everything up?
Because they are old and stale, like bread that you forgot in your bread drawer several years ago.
Man, that's not even old and stale. That's just like a ball of mold now.
I wouldn't put that past NHL ownership.
That's what I would call Gary Bettman's crotch.
Ball of mold.
A ball of mold.
Yeah, or
I'm gonna tag Gary Bettman's crotch somewhere in our social media for this.
George Paris's brain could be called a ball of mold.
Yeah, which we've got more later. I mean, granted, at the same time, he is restricted by rather ridiculous policies and parts of the union contract.
It's balls of mold leading the balls of mold.
Yeah, and there's a Corey Perry joke in there somewhere, but we'll get to him later.
John Tortorella loves talking about balls of mold. That's one thing. He loves just talking about balls. Every time they win, he's like, it's because we has balls today.
And it's like, he's taking over for the get your pet spayed or neutered.
Give your balls a tug.
Tit fucker. Yeah, the Fleury, of course, wears the mask. No punishment is levied whatsoever against the team or the player. And there are no ramifications for him breaking the rules that are stupid to begin with.
No one cared until I wore the mask. Yeah, he's wearing a mask on Native American Pride Night. Why they would just have the audacity to try and tell him not to. And just especially when you see people with SS's on their masks, like Thomas Grice or
the third Grice.
Yeah. Or cartoon characters. Or, I think at one point Robin Lehner had Trump on his mask and no one gave a shit. I think this also gets filed into the don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. Like, don't tell large bureaucratic organizations that you're going to do something. Just fucking do it. And if it has any sort of, cachet with people, they'll turn around and say, nice job. But if you ask for permission, they'll be like, oh, I don't know, this might be controversial.
I looked it up. Yeah, he did have Trump on his mask.
Which is very funny. I mean,
which was on Armed Forces Night back when he was still in Buffalo. And
Trump wasn't even president then?
This is the dude who created Space Force.
Yeah. Was Trump even president then?
Let's see. Robin Lehner, I made a mistake once putting a Trump sticker on my mask. That is something I regret now.
I mean, at least he's honest about
No shit.
The snakes, though, those were just a good time.
2017. So
okay, so Trump wasn't.
He was, which honestly maybe makes it worse. I don't know.
Was that during the, the honeymoon phase when he was only hiring lobbyists into his campaign and presidency?
I don't even have an answer for that.
I just remember that whole process. It's like Dave Chappelle's like, let's give Trump a chance. And then it's 15 minutes later. All right, I have hired Betsy DeVos and every worst person that you can think of.
Yeah. And everybody was like, well, this goes well.
Thank God that he was just so incompetent that he couldn't actually be evil.
He was so incompetent that he couldn't even beat Joe Biden, who is also incompetent.
Yeah. Anyways. Speaking of incompetent.
Well, I mean, that's been the tenor of the conversation so far today.
Failing upwards.
We'll see if this is a failure or not. The NHL announced the details for the All-Star game this year, or All-Star long weekend. It looks like it's a 3-day festival.
Yeah, festival, like in midsummer.
Midsummer.
Yeah.
There's going to be a draft this year, which I think honestly is the more fun way to do it. Get a couple of captains, make them pick their friends and enemies, and
send the kids to war.
Yeah, and okay, all right. This isn't Israel.
I think of the All-Star draft more as the roast of NHL players than anything else, because that's kind of what it was the first time. And I mean, I'm sad that they're probably not going to get liquored up, and then we don't have Phil Kessel to pick on this time. But the draft was hilarious the first time they did it.
Yeah, let's mic people up and make sure that there's enough pregame booze in each other's system.
Yeah, a lot of vodka sodas flowing, and then I also think some other people pointed this out, but you shouldn't be allowed to pick players from your own team. That was one of the lame things about the last one too. It was everyone just wanted to play with their buds, and it's no, that's not the point with this.
It's one of the nice things about being a Red Wings fan. If you're not picking anybody from your team because there's only one.
Yeah. Poor Clayton Keller's just there by himself.
I'm actually really good, but you don't know because I'm in Arizona.
I brought Logan Cooley in my luggage.
He just pops up. Hello. I'm supposed to be in college. I think the coolest part about this in a transition to the women's hockey is that there will be a 3-on-3 PWHL showcase in the middle of this.
Finally, we get to see some PWHL hockey.
Yeah, and it'll be in the middle of their season, so that's fun.
But I mean, we've been clamoring for professional women's involvement and the NHL's involvement with them, so this is awesome to see. It seems like kind of sort of Christmas came early with this All-Star plan. The only problem is that the skills competitions will probably still be 8 hours long.
Who has that kind of time?
Yeah, I know. It's just who does have that kind of time is the people that make the commercials.
Oh God. I actually watched an entire college football game yesterday, and that game could have been a quarter of the length.
You deserve an extra honorific because that game was against Iowa.
Yeah. Oh, it was it was a terrible game.
Just punt fest.
Yeah, I just once I want to see a referee blow the game dead for a TV timeout and say, and TV timeout while we pause to our corporate overlords. And like people can't be mad about it because he's just speaking the truth.
Or just like, what happens if they just don't show Iowa's offensive series and they just show commercials instead? Like that might be an upgrade. Like, oh, we're cutting.
Ooh,
we are cutting to Iowa punting again.
Yeah, and we're back. Whoop.
You know, I mean, like the fact that Iowa has more yards punting generally than they do on offense is always just hilarious.
Gus Johnson is just like, trust me, you didn't miss anything. Also in women's hockey, Lee Steckline, who has been a stalwart for the U.S. women's national team for, like 5 to 10 years now, a long ass time, has stepped away from the U.S. women's national team. It sounds like this is a decision made based off of wanting to focus on the PWHL. Yeah, and you know the U.S. women's national team is a huge commitment, and especially when you've got a guaranteed contract from the Minnesota something or others. I'm just having a hard time giving a shit about the team names, so I don't care.
I like just assigning them like random temporary names. Like it's sort of like
just like their jerseys.
Yeah, like if you have an information void, people going to make jokes. That's what we learned with the Corey Perry Bedard thing, and the PWHL probably needs to understand that too. Yeah,
so it's the Minnesota Huggies diapers,
the Minnesota Princes.
The Minnesota Land O'Lakes butter team of the week. I don't know.
I mean, that's sort of like a Shoresy, like, weird sponsor, but something that's very much of the place.
Yeah, they'll have like a jersey patch for I don't even know things like Targets and yeah. Actually, that would be a good sponsor for them.
Be a great sponsor, and like they put like the Target logo like slightly off center on the goalie jersey,
or they're like all over.
That would be pretty funny. Yeah,
it's like a Swedish league hockey jersey, but right. Only Target logos.
I love making up fake ass team names too much, so like, I don't know. I just see this as like a gift to me from PWHL.
The opposite of a gift is when your beloved Detroit Red Wings sign one of the like all around douchiest players in the NHL who also happened to play for the Chicago hockey team for like 15 years.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Iser Kane.
I hate everything about this. Even if it works out well, I'm sad.
I was thinking we could do this bit and just like not mention Chicago, like, New York Rangers icon Patrick Kane.
Well, I would love to, but like the whole being part of the cover up of the Kyle Beach assault makes it kind of necessary to like. Yeah,
the mental image of Patrick Kane being the one saying homophobic slurs in practice is like too perfect.
It's not even a mental image. Like there's probably video somewhere that just hasn't surfaced yet. We're going to get that like 2010 Practice Zapruder film that was like filmed on an iPhone 4. Just like,
I mean, my money's still sort of on Andrew Shaw, but was he even around in 2010? No, I think he was a later edition.
But like, I mean, we also have evidence of like we have a past history of him like yelling homophobic things at people. So
no, I know,
like,
that's what I was saying. It's like my odds on that guy. Oh wait, maybe he wasn't around in 2010.
Well, no, Patrick Kane did that too. Yeah. So it's like, like I'm excited for the Red Wings to be good, and they're fairly good this year, and that's fun. Adding a player that is just kind of a piece of shit it's a real bummer. I compared it to when they added Todd Bertuzzi, and like that sucked too. At least this is only a 1-year deal. I think Todd was there for like 4 years, and I was just like, him again.
And you had to deal with his son.
Nephew.
Oh, that's right, nephew.
Yeah.
I think this makes a lot of sense. They're paying him $2.75 million prorated from something else. But it's sort of just, you're taking a flyer on a guy who's got a high ceiling. You're paying him less than Ben Sherratt. You're probably not putting him in on the like top line or top power play. So he could be a pretty nice advantage on like a second power play if that works out.
It will be interesting to see how he is, put. Like, I don't think you bring in Patrick Kane to play on your third line, right?
No, he's a top 6 guy, but like, yeah, how you juggle around trying to put him back with DeBrincat, but like not expose him defensively is a little bit of an interesting tactical challenge, because he is cooked defensively. And like as the Red Wings, like you're not great defensively. You're ostensibly bringing him in to like continue to outscore everybody. And just,
which they've been very good at this year.
Yeah. Yzerman just realized like, okay, I gotta boat race teams. Let's bring in a bigger motor.
Yeah. So I think there's a chance it works out, right? There's a very good chance it works out. Granted, the fact that nobody has ever come back from this surgery and like finished a season,
right,
doesn't bode well. Patrick Kane is better than all of the other players who have tried that, but not by a lot. Like Nick Backstrom is a very good player. I think Ed Jovanovski tried to come back from it. Granted, that was like 15 years ago. So
yeah, medicine is probably pretty different.
A little different. Yeah.
And like, I also think that Backstrom and Kane's injuries were maybe of slightly different scales.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a gamble. Like Yzerman is taking a gamble here. The good thing is he's not if Kane like plays one game and goes back on the shelf forever, like, oh well, all he's done is lose his owner's money.
Which, they're making a hand over fist with their pizzas, right. So whatever.
Yeah, rumor is it that Kane mostly signed for unlimited Little Caesars pizza.
That's not a bad deal.
Pizza.
I know Little Caesars sucks, but there's still like a sweet spot in there for me.
Same. Yeah. I enjoy it too. I have a similar sweet spot for like Papa John's.
Yeah.
Just like that taste of kind of subpar pizza that you like need garlic sauce for.
Yeah. The Crazy Bread is still very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, yeah, Patrick Kane, like he's coming to Detroit essentially in a Black Friday deal.
Yeah, there were a lot of rumors that like he was going to go for $5 million or something like that. So getting him for less than half of that, because that salary is going to be prorated.
Yeah, I feel like Yzerman was just like, buddy, you're not getting anything better than this.
Well, I mean, there were rumors that a bunch of other teams were interested, and then all of a sudden there were rumors that it was like just Florida and Detroit. And so that might be true. Like,
right.
I think contenders don't have a lot of cap space. The Red Wings are a possible playoff team. Florida did not have cap space,
right?
And so they would have had to make some Cardi B money moves. They don't dance now; they make money moves. Would have had to make some moves in order to make it work. So, him coming to Detroit makes a lot of sense. Like, on every level, it makes a lot of sense, except for in my heart and in my soul.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the only thing I give a fuck about. So I will still watch pretty much every Red Wings game this season.
You're just going to boo the entire time he's on the ice?
In my head, absolutely. And when he scores a goal, I'm going to be like, yeah, well, he was probably saying homophobic slurs when he shot it. So you're totally right, though. It's a very low cost, low risk, whatever. Like, it is a gamble, but if it doesn't work out, okay.
Yeah, it seems like the largest risk is moral.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember...
Or not even like so much moral as like pride. Too.
I was shit posting on the Athletic message board. Somebody was like, "Oh, I bet you he'll be a great mentor for young players." I was like, "No, he won't.
Mentor on how to find some blow.
He's a piece of shit. Like, I don't want him anywhere near Lucas Raymond. Like,
you stay away from my Jake Wallman."
Yeah. Jake Wallman can take care of himself.
That's true.
He's a grown ass man at this point. He's like 27.
Ooh, yeah. So going from slashed prices to slashed players. Jacob Trouba done did swung for the fences / faces and hit poor Travis Frederick in the head with his stick. Apparently accidentally, even though it really didn't look all that accidental to your average person.
It didn't look accidental to anyone.
Yeah.
And also, it's Jacob Trouba.
Right.
He's kind of a douchebag. Like,
yeah. I think Ryan Lambert said it best. It's like, this guy puts a couple people in the hospital every year. It's just a question of, are they clean hits or not?
Yeah.
He, to his credit, Trouba did like look kind of befuddled when this happened. And he must have, I don't know, apologized to Frederick like right away or something, because it only got treated as like an accident, which was very surprising from the optics. He got the hilarious maximum $5,000 fine so that someone somewhere can go buy like a mid-2000s Honda. And
if they're lucky, used car prices are through the roof.
To his credit, he kind of hilariously like took responsibility. He was like, yeah, sorry, I totally agree with this. Fine, taking and leaving. Like, I am taking this minimum punishment and running away.
Yeah, oh yes, I accept this fine. It's like 6 minutes of your season. Like, of course you're accepting the fine.
This represents less than one shift of your time. Conversely, Brendan Smith got suspended for 2 games for similarly violent yet not to the head slash of Travis Konechny. It was like a over the back kind of thing, and I think he got him in the hands pretty good too. But I don't know. I'm kind of on the mind that, like, yes, even if Trouba's swing to Frederick's head like could be considered an accident, I think it sets a kind of silly precedent to not just make him sit 1 game, whether or not it was an accident. Like, I get,
yeah, like whether or not it was an accident, like it was also a violence. Like, I'm sorry, there's no, if we're like still all like, oh, that's not a hockey play when Adam Johnson died, swinging your stick head height is not a hockey play.
It's not, even if it's like you were kind of rotating your weight around and have your stick come up accidentally. I mean, the good news is that, you know, Frederick was unhurt. Like, he got hit right in the center of the helmet. But yeah, the optics of this, especially given that like the Department of Player Unsafety has been doing okay this season, handing out, you know, multi-game suspensions for some big hits. You know, they're usually kind of falling over and farting on themselves, but this season they've been doing okay. And I don't know, I think this is the first thing that I sort of majorly disagree with.
George Peros has a history of like trying to pass farts by like cupping him in his hand and then like throwing him in his own face. What makes this more befuddling is Jacob Trouba is a repeat offender. Sure. He's a known quantity at this point, and if Jacob Trouba isn't getting suspended for baseball swinging at a dude's head, what are we even doing, right?
Yeah, and I mean, not to say that he's like the dirtiest player on the planet, but he's a pretty physical guy, and occasionally he crosses the line. I mean, he actually had a pretty impressive play the other day where he hit one of Philly's stars while like Jacob Delorier is like chasing him around the rink and like draped all over him, and he still manages to like lay out another player. It's like, all right, you're not all bad, but
Well, he's a bit of a monster too. Like, he's a huge guy.
yeah, a bit of a monster is a good way to describe the way he plays. So yeah, it's not something where you would tend to give someone the benefit of the doubt.
So going from the violence of the rink to the unfortunate violence off the rink, alleged violence off the rink, Milan Lucic was arrested in Boston earlier last week on domestic violence charges.
Assault and battery specifically.
He was arrested and arraigned and pled not guilty to the charges. According to the police report, police responded to a call by his wife saying that he had tried to choke her. Reportedly, Lucic couldn't find his cell phone and started yelling at her, allegedly believing that she had hidden it from him. And when she tried to walk away, he grabbed her by her hair, pulled her backwards, and said, "You're not going anywhere."
Wow, how dramatic.
Which, just kind of comes off as like a terrifying incident, really.
Yeah, and like some just serious domestic abuser shit. I don't think anybody's terribly surprised from the way that Milan Lucic has carried himself over his career on and off the ice, but this is a terrible incident to hear about. I know he was somewhat liked by a lot of people. And so that's one of the reasons that a lot of the kind of statements from the team and things like that have sounded a little hollow. It's because, he was well known to them. And it's really hard to find out that someone you know and work with commits domestic violence.
This is not the first incident of this nature in Milan Lucic's career. There was an incident in, I believe, 2011, in which he allegedly committed some acts against a girlfriend at the time. And, that's 12 years ago. So
yeah, but it shows a pattern.
Yeah.
12 years ago, police said that he was, quote unquote, hostile and intoxicated. And then when they asked him questions, he hit them with the iconic line, "Do you know who I am?"
And following a trend, police believed he was intoxicated when they arrived at the apartment on November 18th. They did find a broken lamp and some broken glass in the bedroom of the apartment, and they also took some pictures of what they say appeared to be redness on his wife's chest. We're not going to, speculate what happened here or, the veracity of things. As with any circumstances, we believe survivors and we believe victims. And we, just hope that out of this tragedy that Milan Lucic's wife is getting the care and the help and the support that she needs in what is, obviously a very trying and difficult time. And hopefully that, and honestly, hopefully as this plays out, Milan Lucic gets the support that he needs from a rehabilitation and a learning and growth and evolving as a human standpoint. We want something like this. And again, it's alleged happens. The perpetrator in this, we do need to take care of them in an effort to make sure that something like this does not happen again with them. And
you want to believe that they can learn and show other people that might approach something like this, that you don't have to. There's a way to not escalate domestic violence to a point where you need to be arrested and charged. There are so many off ramps to not committing domestic violence. Take those, learn those.
Yeah.
And obviously he didn't and failed. And I hope that his wife just gets a resolution to the criminal aspect and the personal aspect of her relationship that she feels is appropriate and makes her feel safe. That's the most important thing in all of this. And, Milan was released on bail, and his conditions included a no abuse order, and he's refrained from drinking alcohol, to which he responded by enrolling in the player assistance program.
Now, there is nothing funny about domestic violence of any sort. But on a side note, can we talk about the sepia-toned Mumford & Sons photo that is Milan Lucic's mugshot?
Yeah, for some reason, the Boston police took Milan Lucic's photo on a daguerreotype camera from the 1800s and then released it sort of off angle. It sort of looks like death photographs of Billy the Kid or photos from the Wild West.
It's like he just came out of the writing sessions that produced The Cave.
He looks like he's been arrested for bootlegging.
If there's one thing that we can make fun of in this situation, and we do try and make light of that which is appropriate, it's that this mugshot is completely ridiculous. And I hope that actually all mugshots in Boston are sepia tone.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a very funny side thing. Oh, okay, here's our Boston police mugshot darkroom.
Well, they get to choose.
Yeah. you don't get to choose jury or bench trial. You get to choose do you want a film
which
booking
Instagram
photo
filter you want for your tone?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we're consistent. We've been making fun of Milan Lucic looking like a dope for a long time. So this is nothing if not sticking to our guns. Sticking to some off-ice incidents, but going from the awful and purely damaging to just the weird and unexplainable. Corey Perry.
This is the oddball story of the year in the NHL.
It really is. I mean, where is Corey Perry? No one knows. He's totally not fucking moms, allegedly, but what he did, why he's no longer with the team, and why they're canceling this contract exactly is still unknown and the subject of lots of conjecture. In fact, so much conjecture, it became really, really fucking awkward for Connor Bedard.
It got to the point where everybody and their mother was having to explain the situation, or rather say that the internet scuttlebutt was not the situation in any way, shape, or form. The Chicago hockey team came out and said that the incident occurred at kind of like a team/sponsor mixer sort of thing, and involved a team staffer and Corey Perry being highly intoxicated.
Yeah, basically Corey Perry did what Bradley Cooper did in A Star Is Born, and he embarrassed everyone by being a drunk asshole somehow.
That just feels kind of typecasting for Bradley Cooper at this point, right?
A little bit. The crazy rumor that started is that Connor Bedard's mother had slept with Corey Perry on a mom's trip. And this only got started because Chicago kept things mum, as you would kind of expect with a workplace incident. But the fact that it was the Chicago hockey team, the Chicago Bedards, that it had, bad things go on before and their silence be part of the problem, it really kind of created a void that led to this wild rumor just running along like wildfire. People
took every single bit of information that came out as another opportunity to be like, see, he fucked Connor Bedard's mom. And it was like, and I obviously didn't do it in the media, but with my friends, I was like, oh my God, what if this is true?
Yeah, it was like a thing that got shared ad nauseum because you kind of went like, this is crazy and totally impossible, but it's really funny to think about.
Yeah. And it's something where, again, the lack of information, that informationless vacuum will always get filled by internet noise. And so at this point, you'd think teams and people and whatever corporations would realize that that's going to happen and just give the nugget of information that makes sure that we know that he didn't fuck Connor Bedard's mom, and give us that much. So the internet speculation is at least more focused into, oh, well, he probably grabbed the ass of the staffer or something, who knows? Whatever it was, Like, the lack of information creates a void that the internet fills.
It's really that he had squirted water into Jeff Carter's glove during a game, and so people just thought he did something similar.
Yeah. Squirted something.
That's the joke. Davidson gets up there after a couple days after this had sort of ran rampant, and he is visibly shook as he talks about, that the fact that they're going to release Corey Perry and terminate his contract. You get the sense that he likes Corey and is sort of being forced to do this by the situation and everyone involved. But yeah, he's being dismissed for unspecified violations involving a team staffer at some sort of team event while traveling that involved other people like sponsors and things. Bedard was later asked by Winnipeg media a bunch of annoying questions about the rumors and like how they affected him and stuff. And it was really broached in a very kind of aggressive way and not the way that a lot of other media members thought that it should have been handled. And to his credit, the Winnipeg owner after the game got on the Blackhawks bus and made it over to Connor Bedard and personally apologized for people that don't work for him, for the staff, for the media members, sort of in the Winnipeg scrum. I thought that was a pretty classy move. We poop on Winnipeg a lot, but like, it's cool to see something like that go down.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that there are good people in the hinterlands.
Right, there are. We maybe won't visit, but we can respect them.
If I want to go see Neil Young's childhood home.
And a Red Wings game.
Also that. Yeah, this whole situation is, it's kind of just ridiculous because like the guy who played the villain for his entire career ends up being the villain. Like he wasn't playing anything. It just turns out that's just him. He is the villain. And, now he is, I would guess, out of the NHL for good now. Yeah,
he too has entered the player assistance program. And Corey Perry also did put out a pretty well written and seemed honest apology. It reads like he knows that this was his kind of dismissal from his hockey career.
He would go play with Yager.
Yeah, I mean, he was productive enough on the ice, I think, but just maybe people don't want to deal with, I don't know, the off ice drama. I mean, I'm not sure if he was ever really known for off ice drama before this, but
they're always on ice.
Right. Yeah, he was like just a pest and sometimes actually just like super funny, like with the whole Mike Richards glove thing I mentioned. I always sort of like joke about like Corey Perry, he's actually getting dismissed for like microwaving fish in the locker room or something, or like he like replied all to a company email.
As somebody who's a repeated victim of the company-wide reply all, if that's what he did, he fucking deserved this dismissal.
But good God, do we wish we were a fly on the wall to figure out what he did, who he pissed off, what he said to get his contract fucking just wiped off the face of the planet. Like, it's wild. And a lot of people are pointing out that it's a little wild to see these two back to back. And like Corey Perry is immediately, his contract is canceled, whereas Lucic his contract is still in place. And that would be because of terms of the CBA. Corey Perry, his incident being a workplace matter, they have a whole lot more reign with which to dismiss him, whereas Lucic's being a criminal matter, they have to follow some pretty clear steps, and they can't just like unilaterally cancel his contract.
Well, I mean, they already tried that with Mitchell Miller, and that didn't go well. So.
Yeah, I mean, they have egg on their face about canceling contracts already. I mean, the Boston Police probably just grabbed his contract and tore it up just to save him the effort on the way out. But
all right, we got some quick hits here to finish off the episode. The first is Vancouver making money moves like Cardi B. They traded Anthony Beauvillier to Chicago for a 5th rounder, while simultaneously almost trading for Nikita Zadorov from Calgary. They gave up effectively nothing to get a very good defenseman. They gave up a 2026 3rd rounder and a 5th rounder next year. And then they immediately got the 5th rounder back for Anthony Beauvillier. So,
Nikita is free.
Yeah, good job, Vancouver. I mean, how long has it been since we've said that, right?
They've been making some smart moves. I mean, the Philip Hronek trade was poo-pooed by everybody in the offseason and now looks like the best trade of the offseason.
For both teams, too.
Yeah. Anthony Beauvillier just looks like he belongs in Chicago.
Oh, don't say that about a guy. That's mean.
He just sort of looks like some dude you would find outside of the Cubby Bear or something.
He's just is he kind of paunchy and
yeah, he just looks like a frat bro.
Eats shitty hot dogs.
He looks like a human Bratz doll, and I just always find that very funny. He's just perfectly coiffed and
elegantly disheveled.
Yeah.
In other news, Tyson Barrie was given permission by the Nashville Predators to seek a trade to find a trade partner for him. He has seen his time on ice greatly reduced. He is supposedly getting a healthy scratch tonight. I didn't check that.
Rumor has it that Ken Holland has been calling him constantly, but he's ignoring his calls.
I mean, straight up for Darnell Nurse. They want their first pairing would be Tyson Barrie and Darnell Nurse. That's how fucking Ken Holland works.
That would be so funny. I mean, that is all offense, no defense. That is great.
We'll see how the market develops for Tyson Barrie. He runs a mean power play when given a chance, but he's not very good in his own end, so you have to shelter him a lot.
And it's also just a little unclear what's going on in Nashville. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they gonna sell? Are they gonna buy? It's kind of the same story that it's been the past couple of years with Nashville. They're gonna be on the playoff bubble and maybe buy or sell. And just kind of, I don't know. Commitment to mediocrity, like you see at the University of Iowa, takes hard work.
They are the mushy middle.
The mushy middle, yeah. Nothing more Midwestern than the mushy middle, right?
I'm rocking that Midwestern mushy middle right now.
Me too. Speaking of mushy, the Penguins, they're doing kind of poorly. They have scored 0 goals in their last 26 power plays. That's not good.
Yeah, especially when you traded for Erik Karlsson specifically to run your power play.
Yeah, very, very funny. They, I don't know. Is this not wasting the last couple years of Gino and Sid? It's very, very odd.
Give Kyle Dubas credit. He honestly got a very friendly deal for Erik Karlsson. He knows what the gig is in Pittsburgh. And he went out and tried. And it was an admirable swing. You've got to give him credit for that. It's just not working out so far. As of right now, I think the Penguins are something like 7 or 8 points out of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're not doing well. Which I don't know. I think a lot of people are surprised. They have the look of a team that can maybe turn it around, or at least they do on paper.
Yeah, as of right now, they are, I guess they're only 2 points out of a wild card spot, but they just don't look good. And so and they are still, rebounding from a very, very bad start to the season. So is there an opportunity there? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as of right now, you've got teams like the Red Wings who, may or may not be good. The Caps, who have looked dreadful for most of the year, are shockingly in the playoffs.
Right.
And the Islanders, who are the Islanders. So, like,
we're getting a whole lot of failing upwards.
Yeah, there's definitely opportunity for upward mobility. And it's like you've entered a corporation that has a very clearly defined structure for moving up to better yourself. Which doesn't exist. But in this case, you can see Washington kind of falling apart. You can see the Islanders falling apart. You can see the Red Wings falling apart. So, like, there's a definite opportunity for, it's very much all still in play for Pittsburgh, but numbers like that, they don't inspire a lot of confidence.
When numbers also don't inspire a lot of confidence is the NHL's new puck tracking and player skate speed tracking called NHL Edge that they've debuted. It's very funny because it gives you like information on like the fastest skaters and the hardest shots and stuff, but you can't figure out who the slowest people are or like the slowest shooters. Like it very much like deliberately obfuscates that data. But one of the things
it's me.
I mean, I
definitely have the
100% slower than you. Oh, I'm slower skater than you. So yeah. The previously mentioned Phil Peronic, he was recorded with the hardest shot so far seen this season, coming in at a whopping 107.9 miles an hour, which, according to them, ranks in the top 3 historically. Makes sense considering it was coming on a beautiful one-time from Quinn Hughes. So, you had you're stacking momentums, right? If you're redirecting a one-time shot.
My brother and I were talking about this, and my brother has a bad hip from his time in the military, and he was talking about how somebody almost blocked that shot and how that would cause their hip to be in worse shape than his own. And it was like yeah, no, don't just let that go. Like, I'm not gonna nitpick anybody. You see the full momentum of that, and you're like, nah,
no thanks.
You matador the hell out of that. You're like, I'm out of here.
You get away like those defensemen in the Mighty Ducks, like just out of the way of that shot.
When Fulton Reed's
exactly. Up. The max speed of a player so far this year is Rasmus Kupari with 23.95 miles per hour. If you measure in like amount of speed bursts, Nathan McKinnon's your fastest player, which anyone could predict. He's got 25 speed bursts of 22 miles per hour or more. Behind him is like exactly.
No.
Shea Theodore's famous words after he's about to just get ran around like he's the New Jersey Turnpike. Nathan McKinnon, obviously very fast player, but things start to fall apart when you look at some of like last year's stats, for which
fastest skater Tyler Myers.
The fastest skater was measured as Jack Johnson, which I
can see it.
I assume he was falling when that was measured, but
like, there was just a cop in the audience with a speed gun. It was like 31. Nice job, Jack.
Right. It's like some moment out of like The Rookie, like, you threw 31 miles an hour, you old man. This is a fun portal to interact with. I like stats, obviously, and it's fun to compare, but it's also like very strange. Like you can tell that they're just trying to completely make sure that no one can analyze like the lower end of any of these statistics. I think Greg Wyshynski did figure out who the slowest skater was. It was probably like Tyler Myers or Ben Sherratt, but nobody actually knows because all this shit's behind a paywall now.
I do want to say this. Ben Sherratt, the advanced stats, he's actually having a really good year, shockingly.
Yeah, he can be all right.
He's still not worth his contract, but he's one of the more effective defensemen for the Red Wings, which again doesn't say much. He's actually been relatively solid this year, so kudos to him. He still sucks, but good job turning it around this year. You're not a massive boat anchor on Moritz Seider's life or career anymore.
No, the Wild have cast off their massive boat anchor.
Speaking of boat anchors, yeah, the Wild have fired their head coach Dean Evison because they suck.
And none of their good players are good.
Yeah, and there is a big rumor out there that Kaprizov is playing hurt or hasn't fully recovered from the injury he suffered at the end of last season. That rumor was enhanced by Dean Evison, who talked about it after he got fired, saying I probably shouldn't say this, but yeah, Kirill's been playing hurt and he's just not 100%. And it's I mean, that makes my fantasy team feel so much better.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fine thing for a coach to say.
Yeah.
An honest thing for him to say would be yeah, guys, the real reason I got fired is because I wasn't getting average goaltending. The goaltending for Minnesota has just been horrible. And
Gustafsson has fallen off a cliff.
Right. There's a reason that this mask is the first time we talked about Fleury all year.
It's been a rough year. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not been good. Yeah, I think they're getting 870 team goaltending or something. And that's just, it's not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent. John Hines was picked as Dean Evison's replacement, which I think confuses everybody. Because didn't Nashville get better the second that they got rid of him?
As did New Jersey.
Yeah.
However, the Wild have won all three of their games under John Hines.
Maybe they're more interested in the coach that they hire after they fire him.
Yeah, I mean, the Wild suck, right? So they're next to last in the Central. The only team worse than them is the Chicago hockey team and the Chicago racist mascot. And so They have a huge hole to climb. They're hoping for that Craig Berube, Jordan Bennington sort of rise from the ashes moment. But no, I mean, especially if Kirill Kaprizov's hurt, you aren't winning shit this year.
Yeah, Matthew Boldy has also not been good. Marco Carlo Rossi has looked like he might be a real player this year, but it hasn't been enough to make up for Black and Boldy's production.
On the plus side, they only have one more year after this of absurd cap hits against them for canceling Zach Parise and Ryan Suter's contracts. So,
yeah, boy, wouldn't you want to just have an extra $12 million of player right now?
14.
Is it 14 this year?
$7 million.
Oof, buddy. Oof. Yeah.
Couldn't just ride that one out.
But yeah, if you're getting just awful dog shit team goaltending, odds on chance that your coach is going to get canned. If they can't make any, real changes to the GM, the goalies, if your cap hit, it can't grow. All right, time to can the coach.
Well, that's the thing too. It's okay, Bill Guerin has shot a shot now. He fired his coach. Now what?
Yeah, and there's some rumors that Bill Guerin, gave them a bit of a riot act that
didn't work.
Yeah, was not as effective as the one in San Jose because they came back from Europe and have sucked shit ever since. So speaking of Europe, we had some friends come over from across the pond, Harry and Meghan, for this segment is mostly for my mother, who's a huge English fanatic. Harry and Meghan.
Anglophile.
Yeah. That's just too nice of a term.
Does she realize that we fought 2 wars to not give a fuck about the royal family.
Agreed.
Okay.
So Harry and Meghan went to a
No
Canucks
disrespect.
game, and just hilarity. And like, I love how the stoicism of British people just makes them look like utter buffoons sometimes. Because, okay, so they brought Harry out to do the ceremonial puck drop, and
Which in and of itself is fucking absurd.
right, and he didn't know that he actually had to drop the puck, and so he's just like hanging on to it, and
Did like Quinn Hughes pass him a J before the game? Like,
he must have. He's up there with Quinn Hughes and who I'm not sure. Fuck,
captain for what team?
as assistant captain. Oh, yeah. So he's up there with Quinn Hughes and Tomas Hertl, and like, you know, they take the picture, right? And then like Tomas Hertl has to turn to him and be like, "Yeah, you're supposed to drop the puck." And it's like, "Oh, all right. Well, I guess I'll drop the puck." Like Harry's. He's just like awkward Hugh Grant moment. Like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. You need to drop the puck."
Oh, they've seen me dancing around in my underpants.
Missed that point completely. And then I think this is like something that every NHL fan got a kick out of is they got very confused by a disallowed goal on an offsides goal. They're like visibly like, what?
Which is exactly what happens in soccer.
Yeah, I know. It's very funny. I mean, I guess offsides is, you know, it's a different rule for them in soccer. And
also, Meghan Markle's a fucking American.
Sure. But
she was in suits, damn it.
Yeah. I don't think any of us get why some of these goals get disallowed. So, yeah. If I could get on another soapbox, like, there was a goal that was totally a goal last week that just got, like, they just decided, nah. Like, you could see it on replay behind the line. This was 2 weeks ago now. I think it was something I wanted to talk about back then, but kind of forgot about it. Yeah, it was Jacob Silfverberg versus the Panthers. And, like, it's late in the third. They review it. To everyone in the viewing area and in the stands who can see the replay, the puck is in the net, and they call it a no-goal. Panthers go on to win. I don't know, like, just absolutely ridiculous. Like, what are we doing here with video review? And I think this week we got a goal disallowed after like 60 seconds of play on an offsides.
Yeah.
And like there needs to be some sort of a rule that cuts out on those.
Gotta
like,
throw the challenge flag on the ice.
Nobody
He was offside.
Nobody fucking likes when you play for a minute and you know, the puck changes hands and like then the whole play is negated by an offsides that nobody can even remember at that point.
If there's any culture that should understand bad video review, it's fans of the English Premier League. So, like, Harry should know.
Yeah, Harry should know. Well,
Meghan Markle also in one episode of The League.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's why he's the spare hockey fan.
And with that, we are a spare podcast to many of you, but we love you and thank you for listening. This will do it for us. Thank you, as always, for listening. You can find us all over that shady, destructive, terrible place known as the internet. Our website, which is handsomehockey.com, should be safe and stable.
Even if it tells you it's not.
Yeah, our Instagram is Handsome Hockey Podcast, Handsome Hockey on Thread, at Handsome Hockey on X.
Don't give it to you.
handsomehockeypod@gmail.com. If you want to email us for some godforsaken reason, we actually don't even check that email address because it's full of spam.
We check it. We just haven't gotten any.
So Handsome Hockey Facebook page is your spot for us on that elder millennial jubilation place. And we're on YouTube.
We are.
In the spirit of the British, we would like to wish you a happy tea time tomorrow. Not that you need it, because I'm sure your lives are full of joy and bliss. But, thanks for listening to us. We will try and get at least one more episode out before the mad dash of the holidays hits us. And Evan and I are both cavorting around the Midwest like drunken sailors.
Yeah, people are already starting to like push off shit to the new year. But I think we can get, I don't know, 1 or 2 more episodes in, maybe?
I've been pushing shit off to the new year since like August. So
it's 8th month. We're just rounding up.
Yeah. I'm going to be busy with
Halloween and Thanksgiving.
And I don't know if you know this, but I've got a podcast and like we're really working hard on it.
Also, I take Boxing Day really seriously.
Yeah. Flag Day. Flag Day's in the summer, I think. But anyways, you know what? This is going to be the best Flag Day ever. Thank you all so much for listening, for sticking with us, and stay handsome, everybody.
Restez beau, tout le monde.